Welcome back to the Big Sky Basketball Tip-Off Show. I'm Megan Robinson. It's no surprise defending women's regular season and tournament champions Montana State were voted number one in the preseason polls. They enter this season without reigning MVP Esme Morales and with a new look roster. However, it's hard to bet against what head coach Tricia Binford has built in her 21 years in Bozeman. Coach, you are coming off a record-setting 30-win season, defending Big Sky regular season and tournament champs, preseason number one in the conference polls. What do you attribute to your program's recent success?
Well, I just think consistency, communication, consistency, going after the right kind of personnel that fits the identity of this program, and upperclassmen helping teach underclassmen.
Coach, you mentioned finding players that fit into your program. A lot of new faces on your roster this season. What are the strengths you've seen from these new players that you've seen so far based in practice?
Well, I love the communication by the newcomers. I think the relentless mentality that fits the culture of this program, starting with the defensive end. I love that they're gym rats. This is a group that we have to get out of the gym for overtraining. So that's always a great challenge to manage. But just great teammates. When we talk about great culture, it starts with being great teammates and being invested into each other. And this group is no different than kind of the staple of our program.
One of the strengths that we talked about regarding your program last year was the depth. How would you assess the depth on your team entering the 25-26 season?
Right now we have 13 on our roster. We have one that's in a medical with Drea. So when you look at our 13, I love all 13 options, similar to last year with you could rotate anybody in and you don't lose a beat. I think this team's going to have a lot of different options with our chemistry and our lineups. We have a few more guards, a few less posts. So I think you'll see just putting lineups out there that works for us as far as being able to spread teams, run on some teams, but also defend teams as always. So I love this group.
You talked about how they give you a lot of different options. As a coach, how do you balance changing things up and using those options versus staying consistent with your starters and your lineups?
You have to take your preseason to figure out what chemistry works well. I think this group's going to take a little bit longer. Last year, we had so much experience returning in our nucleus that we didn't have as many changes in our lineup. I do foresee a few more looks this year with this squad, just because we do have so many new faces and we're putting people in different positions. So I think we're going to toy around with that. I think this group will be flexible with that. We constantly have those conversations that we're going to utilize and maximize the entire roster and our entire team. But that's going to take some time to find that right chemistry. So the preseason will help us get there.
One of your key returners is sophomore Taylor Chiric, sixth in the nation in steals last season. What are your expectations for her in year two?
The expectations for Taylor is setting the tone on who we are on the defensive end. And just, we want to have kids play to their true gifts, right? Be who you are, be a champion in your role. And be those things 9 out of 10. And Taylor certainly attests to that every day she shows up. She's a competitor and she's going to go to battle and she's going to defend and she's going to sprint the floor. So I think on the offensive end, helping us establish tempo, pushing the tempo on the defensive end, it's always Taylor setting that tone. So I'm excited to see kind of her steps this year as far as growing on the offensive end and how that plays. In ways to get into the paint, cut off teammates, because she really is so dynamic. There's opportunities to utilize her in some different ways.
Coach, you mentioned you're going to use the preseason to assess your options and see what works best. Looking at your schedule, you face 8 teams who finished last year with at least 20 wins in your non-conference schedule. You've said iron sharpens iron. What are the benefits of playing such a tough non-conference schedule?
When you play a great non-conference schedule is you want to prepare yourself to being a Big Sky contender and also being prepared if you were to advance, being able to have an opportunity to get a great seed. So I think there's a couple things that play out with that. But the biggest thing for us is just making sure we continue to get better and we get challenged and we move our needle And that happens on a daily basis. We don't necessarily want to focus on the other opponents. We want to focus on ourselves, and making sure that those things expose the weaknesses that we have to get better at. And I love that about this preseason schedule. I know it's going to be a challenge, especially for a young squad. But we've also recruited competitors that are prepared for these kind of opportunities and moments. So excited to see how we respond.